Well, how are you doing? I'm so glad you guys are here. It's Karenann McDonald. We had a rumble issue, so it looks like we're gonna have to start again over here on YouTube. Go figure. It's usually the other way around. So we're gonna get some people going in here, and we're just gonna wait a few minutes for people to migrate over. So this is absolutely phenomenal. We're gonna talk a little bit about the essential. We're gonna talk a little bit about the essential oils here, and we're going to just pop over there and give them a few minutes to get onto this live stream. Honest to goodness, like who'd have thought that this would be going on, right? So let's get into this idea here. How many people of you have been using essential oils? Okay, so where are we going with this? What are we doing, and where do we need to start? Because that's usually the biggest question for people. They have no idea where to start. So this is becoming a bit of an issue. People don't know the very basics in here. So we're going to go in here and get some ideas. So anyway, please just give here. And we are going to get people just to kind of migrate over. We got quite a few people waiting in the room, but when you can't move it, you can't move it, right? So anyway, please join me here on YouTube now. And we're going to my old channel here. So anyway, we'll just see how that all goes, and hopefully that'll work out. And we'll get people in here. So are we having fun, or what's going on? So let's take a look here and see what we can do to help people, because this is a phenomenal thing that we're seeing here. So we want to get people in here, and we want to welcome them to my channel. I'm Karenann McDonald. And if you haven't heard about me, I've been on quite a few different streams here. So we've been on, we've been on the Leak Report, the Basis Project, Project Camelot, Fade to Black, all sorts of exciting different shows, robertbauer.com. We've been to quite a few. So in here, I've got my own channel. And of course, in 2016, for a year, I was pretty famous for doing what we called Project Ascension. And lately, we've been doing some stuff in the last year we just did Dabuma. So if you got on to see us the other night, he said, does anyone want to come talk to me on StreamYard? So I took him up literally on that. And we just did a show the other night. So I want to thank, those type of people for having us on. And for people like, also, we were talking about the synergists. And I'm really excited to be doing a show. And that show coming up will be with none other than Sabrina W. Allis, because I just lost my channel last week. Can you imagine? They pulled it down and gave me a warning. At least we didn't get a full strike. But when you try to appeal something like that, just by mentioning Sabrina Allis with the W, wall.ass, anyway, it's ridiculous that you could lose a channel over that, thinking that you could actually mention someone's name and they will deem it basically to be medical advice. Well, how ridiculous is that? So anyway, how many of you, and we want to welcome Nanette and some of the other people starting to migrate over, thank gosh, from the Rumble. I know there's about 20 people sitting over there. So hopefully they got the messages on the side. So in there, let's see what people, do you have any questions, first of all, to start with? Let's start with what essential oils are and frequencies. Because one of the things I'm going to put into the chat room right now is that I have got an actual Facebook, and that Facebook is Karenann McDonald. And if you go over there, what you're going to see is an album. So I'm going to put this album over there. And if you go over to the album, what you're going to also see is that I have a lot of information writing on that. And these here, what we're going to do is we are going to put some information so that you can see what we're talking about. Because quite often people don't get the very basis of what we're talking about. And so I'm going to go through a little bit of my album here, and hopefully that's something that will bring some of this to light. I got started in essential oils back in 1997, and a lot of it is because a lot of people are having what you would call trauma. And that trauma basically can be physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. And way back in 1997, I was introduced to it by a couple of nurses that had left the field because they had had severe car accidents. And in those motor vehicle injuries, they couldn't walk. And so they were introduced to a technique at that time called Raindrop, essential oil massage, reflexology, cranial circle, and other things. So we're going to scoot through a little bit of that because I think that's so important. If you don't know what we're talking about, then you need to basically go in here and take a look at these sort of things, because these were inspired actually by the Dakota Indians, right? Which goes way back. So it was a Star Nation type of information, not just a myth, not just on the Temple of Isis and all those, integral things that we saw. But we're going to go through this. And we want to thank Andrea for joining in here. She says, thank you for your wisdom and for sharing. I really appreciate it. So that's great. This is what we want to do. We want to get people to be learning about all these different important things that you could be using. And if we could basically have someone learn one thing, I want to share that this is my passion. And the passion for the oils really came in and saved my life. They have saved millions of people's lives. And this is why it's so important. I'm really glad that I'll be doing this with Dabuma and Sabrina and the Synergy crew and other people, because what people are missing is the essence and the frequency of that. So we're going to take a little bit of a meander, and I want you to take your pens and papers out. And actually, if you've got an essential oil, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to go get some essential oils, get them in front of you, get a glass of water. If you got peppermint there or orange or lemon or whatever oil you've got, get it in front of you. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes. You can always come back on the rewind, but here you can actually go in and see some of the different ideas that you could be looking at and monitoring here. So one of the things in here, look, you're going to see me streaming in here. Hopefully you guys can actually see my screen here. So I'm going over to Facebook here. And if you can see, it says essential frequency oils, aromatherapy. I'm going to be talking about edible. This is food. This is liquid, super concentrated food that contains basically microscopic minerals, vitamins, and all sorts of things that makes it antiviral, antifungal, anti-tumoral. It was used for all sorts of things. So we're going to go through some of the different basics that you need to know. So one of the most important things was I scoot into here is essential oils have frequency. And those frequencies boost your vibration, they boost your biofield, and they boost your immune system. So one of the things was Bruce Tahino of Tahino Technology, and he's passed away probably about 10, 15 years ago now, but he invented a BT3 frequency monitoring system that measured the bioelectrical availability of plants and any other organic substances. And his foundation of what he was doing was actually based on royal rife. And so one of the things that became very clear, and there's quite a few different books out there, if you guys can see here, this is the essential oil desk reference, the healing oils of the Bible, which I trained with Dr. David Stewart, who also wrote all the integral validation statistical for the Center for Aromatherapy Research and Education, which I trained in about 20 years ago. So also one of my most spiritual few things I've ever had in my life like this, Gary Young wrote the Essential Oils Integrative Medical Guide. That picture that you see there in the middle was actually a vision that I had in my head the minute I entered to within 15, 20 feet of him when I met him for the first time face-to-face in Cancun back in 2004. I saw that picture. I actually saw the chemical formula there of the thymol. Everything was in my head. And he said to me, how do you know this? You're either with the CIA or you're an angel from above. I'll take the angel part from above, possibly. The other thing, too, is looking at these pocket references. Very, very important that you take a look at this, you guys, because I cannot stress it hard enough. You need to know the basics to a lot of this. So what I'm going to be talking about is those benefits that you're going to receive from the application. And this does not just apply to people. It applies also to animals. It applies to pediatric. It applies to livestock. It applies to the land and the water. So these are also used for basically home and land and water clearing as well. So because they have the chelation purpose there. So is that not cool enough? I thought this was pretty exciting. So we want to welcome back here. Brent's here. Hopefully your back's doing well. We'll talk a little bit about some of the back issues and stuff like that. Clarity says, oh my gosh, I found you, Karen. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for migrating over. Rumble was not going to cooperate today. And Clarity said, I just got the new Therapeutic 16 essential oils. So I'm going to talk also about where you can get some of these therapeutic oils. I just actually had the opportunity to send a couple of them out to friends of mine. You know, I just love sharing things like that. And to me, the gift of oils is the gift of life. And so there is a company, and I'll show you some of these too, that have therapeutic oils. The one you may have looked at was the company called Pure D''or, the Pure Gold. Anyway, Nanette's saying she's using them now every night. And Slow Fingers on there too. Hi to everyone. And shared the link on Telegram. So were you guys able to see some of the things I was sharing on my Facebook? Just put a yes if you in the chat room if you were able to see it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find another thing. Great here. Yeah, nice hairdo, by the way. Thank you. It's just actually in a ponytail and short. And so it's got the, you know, I think for Maxwell Smart, I look like Agent 99 or something like this, or Pat Benatar. I don't know which look this is. Anyway, thank you very much. So anyway, we're going to take a look at. So were you guys able to see some of my screen sharing? If not, we'll do it again here. Put a yes if you saw it. Put a no if you did not. So let me know how you're able to see this. Sometimes these don't always, Pat Benatar, I know. That's how old we are. We're showing our age, aren't we, today? Yes, so that's great. We're going to go right back into that. I'm going to screen share some more here. So let's take a look. We're going to go into that live stream, go back into my Facebook, and let's go back into that oil particular category. So there you see me. That was my other Pat Benatar. That's more poofy. Anyway, in here, you're seeing me talk about a little bit about essential oils. And those essential oils, basically, you guys, can go and actually be put into capsules. There was 21 ways that people said that they could get essential oils. I made up 22, 23, and 24, and we'll go into my additions to the reference guides. One of the things you're going to see there, you'll see a yoni steamer on the far right of your screen. That's what that purple thing is. That is a yoni vaginal facial steamer. If you're not making your own, you can get these on Amazon or Red Tent Wellness or basically Steamy Chick. What you're seeing at the top left corner up here, you guys, is an enema bag. So again, they can be applied internally and externally. In here, what you're seeing is, again, how people make basically those essential oils. You can put a few drops in a capsule. Some people prefer vegan, which doesn't always break down as well with the cellulose. Some people will go for the gelatin. Whatever it is, you can put them in and you can further dilute it with castor oil, olive oil, or something that would make it a little bit more palatable for you. So again, there are formulas on the internet and you can see, do I have limes? Can I make a limes bullet? Do I have MRSA? What do I have? If I've got diabetes, do I have stress? Do I have back pain? How are you going to make up these critical essential oil pills? And again, Young Living and doTERRA were one of the few companies that ever made preloads. So you could buy them in that, you know, thicker little gel cap and soft gels, and that would last for quite a while. These, again, you have to take within probably about 5 minutes because it's so powerful, it'll eat the thin material. The idea is just to get it in. One of the other things I've done is frankincense and lavender and put it in with castor oil and some grapeseed oil and put it in the freezer. It takes 2 weeks to freeze because the idea with castor oil and grapeseed oil is if you freeze it for about 2 weeks, it will start releasing into going past the stomach and getting into the small intestine. So there are a couple different ways to do this as well. So again, whatever your setup is, basically, if you have a hard time pouring just from the actual droppers from the bottle, go right ahead and use an eyedropper. There's nothing wrong with this. And again, we want to talk about frequency. So going back to Bruce Tahino and Dr. Gary Young, everything vibrates at a certain frequency. We're going to use megahertz because it's basically how many vibrations are oscillating per second. And in this case, when you're talking M, you're talking millions, or is it, you know, what kind of vibration? But in here, that's what we're looking at. The frequencies here are in the megahertz. So basically, if you take anything canned, processed, craft dinner, whatever it will be, do you know it really has zero energy or frequency? We can't really even see an aura really off of it. When people start to die, what you say, they're getting on to their deathbed in their palliative or hospice care. They're usually, when you're getting these cancers, you're 40. And by the time we're starting to see very little electrical activity in the body, you're running in the 25 to 42. Most of your infections, corona to candida to whatever, Epstein-Barr, all that kind of stuff, you will see those kind of pathogenics actually showing up below 60. Okay, so what we know is that below 60 megahertz, that's basically, from your basically neck down. In other words, to move into the 5th, 6th, and 7th chakra, 8th, whatever you want to say, dimensions, whatever you want to call it, you need to be close to 100 megahertz. Now, if you go to the right side of the screen, I want you to see here that basically you can take all the organic food you want and go veggies and go juicing and all that. You're not really getting too much higher than about 30 megahertz. So what's going to basically bump us over to get over that 100 megahertz? One is the therapeutic essential grade oils, which is your liquid food. And that can take you into close to 600 megahertz. So I know people put 320 a lot for rose oil, but seriously, all your plants of the trees, fruit, the fir, the spine, sprucey, the pine, all that kind of fun stuff. Your forest and tree oils go into the 500, 600 megahertz. So we need to look at that. That's what's going to take us there, not the herbs, not all these great little smoothies. Okay, you can Google this up. This is 20 years ago, by the way, to me, you guys. It's not new. Again, these were measured again with the equipment. This was done in Washington back in 1992. As I said, I've been at this a long time. And again, they're much higher here. So you can combine different things to go into different organs, different reflexology points, different acupuncture points. So again, they can be applied for physical, mental, emotional release. We used a lot for sexual abuse, ritual abuse, calming, meditation, different kind of conditions, and you'd be amazed how quick they work. So again, this is moving up into the vibration, into the frequencies, moving into your different biofields around you. And that is what's really fun. What's always amazing to me is that people that, take coffee, or they say, I don't need that, because I just pray and I have the armor of the Creator, the armor of God around us. But when you actually do that, coffee was found that just smelling it, not even drinking it, smelling coffee, the brain damage that occurred to the biofield and the brain was so intense that it actually lowered you to the point that you could get entities, openings, biofield irregularities. And that knocked you to 58 megahertz. And it took 3 minutes to start working with essential oils to raise it. So take a look at that. Not that meditation isn't bad, but it takes about 12 seconds to raise it. Every negative you thought is going to take seconds. Okay, and now that we're moving into the age of AI, the different 6 and 7G, the difference with 6G is you are the node. It's in you. It's all within you that you're going to be part of this. So we need to be a little bit brighter. Again, looking at the different oils and blends that you can do. So again, we want to alter the common states of mind when people are in a state of anxiety, stress, hyperactivity, hyper alertness. All those things can be calmed down in minutes, absolutely minutes here. So this is something that we need to look at because it's easy to process these kind of essential oils. If you like oils like jasmine and higher flowers, do you know it takes 5,000 pounds of jasmine essential oil? 5,000 pounds to make 1 pound of essential oil. So that's why some of these oils, because of the processing and the extraction methodologies, take so long, right? And increase the value of the price compared to clove and peppermint and all those things. Even frankincense isn't that expensive anymore, Palo Santo or any of these things, cedarwood. But get into jasmine and magnolia and things like that, neroli, that's where the prices go up a little bit, rose oil. So in here, just to give you an idea, they are super concentrated food. So how many of us have had fresh mint, fresh spearmint? How many of us had enhanced that with a tea bag? Well, now what I'm going to encourage you to do is add a drop of water. Now, doing a drop into a glass of water is one thing because it's about 78 megahertz. When you start putting it in hot tea, I will tell you, from a foot away from your nose out here, you will start smelling it. It enters the biofield through those aromatherapy and through the vibration. The heat accentuates it. And I've had people just actually this week, for the first time that haven't had a sense of smell for over 2 years, I've also had a child that was born without a sense of smell. She was 8 years old, and by the time we used these methodologies, she could smell again. So sometimes you just need to open something or the right frequency or put the right breaker switch over. We need to start vibrating. So things that you can get in your repertoire: rose oil, it's high vibration; helichrysum for nerve damage; lavender for any cut, burn. Those things can actually be put, including frankincense, directly on open wounds. So I've used them in surgery, post-surgery, even to the point in emergency as a nurse. We actually soaked the packing or the gauzes that were actually stuffed into people and wicks. And the doctors wrote orders for that for me in Saskatchewan, by the way. Other things again, blue tansy, blue chamomile. Those are your blue colors. There's an alternative, people. Blue tansy and blue chamomile and German chamomile instead of what? Instead of methylene blue. So things like juniper, melissa, sandalwood, white angelica, and peppermint are all great ones as too. So again, this is based on also the idea of not only sound, but the sound or the wave, the oscillation that comes off those essential oils. Just like Royal Rife discovered this. This is not new. We can see all this. So again, getting into the concentration, putting a drop of lemon in your water, putting it in your diffusers, putting it in your salad dressing. You'd be amazed how much that can do. And again, Google these charts or look on my Facebook here. Look at all the different essential oils and where they can actually help. One of the rare known ones is something called carrot seed oil. You'll see carrot seed oil here under the stomach category. And the reason why is that carrot seed prevents water retention. That is great for edema, and that's great for actually radiation. So if you're looking for anything for Wi-Fi, 5-6G, chemtrails, any kind of burn stuff like that, carrot seed is a really rare but known one. And again, when people were talking about all these things to do with prevention for venoms or prevention for the different corona stuff, take a look at star anise and stuff like that. Neroli, fennel, all these things are in there. So again, most people they're not aware. Were you guys aware that you could get carrot seed essential oil or celery essential oil? Great for getting rid of mosquitoes. Have those rare things. The most powerful things actually for infections will be oregano, thyme, lemongrass, and something called melissa and clove oil. So take a look at some of these. Pain, it's definitely going to be your peppermint. There's not enough peppermint. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to get people out of pain. These are actually the graphs that show us the vibrations and the colors and the auras of the oils. So again, look up these different life-saving measures. Liver health, there's an old formula that was in the scriptures from Moses, and it's called Ledum, Ledum. So it's the top one here you can see in my liver health. And I always think of it as Moses to lead him home, lead him from the Exodus, right? And those are very important things. When we mixed actually ledum, helichrysum, and celery seed, people were actually chelating out mercury and their mercury fillings and built up heavy metals within 24 hours. Juvaflex and Juva Cleanse were also ones that were made. And again, if you don't want to go to Young Living, just look up which 2-3 oils are in their blends and make it at home. It's not rocket science for you guys. So anyway, these are the things. I'm going to talk a little bit about Raindrop technique. This is what saved my life. It basically balances and realigns. It was called chiropractor in a bottle because we could actually move the spine and get alignments and reduce stress and anxiety and the inflammation, not just the muscles, the ligaments, and the tendons, but we were creating an environment that viruses and bacteria didn't want to store, or those pathogens or parasites did not want to store within the body or in the biofield. Again, these are one of the few things that cross the blood-brain barrier. So again, you can look these up and again, create your own at home. And it's just a technique. You can substitute any other oil that you like, as long as it's edible food grade. Again, we measure our stuff. This is what's called international standards. And these are the different acceptable things called GRAS, generally regarded as safe. Okay. And another thing I'm going to talk about is combining your essential oils with other techniques. In this case, I use 3 or 4. One will be crystals, one will be tuning forks, and one will be biofeedback. and I'm developing new technologies, and I think this is going to be a phenomenal game changer here. So again, what we're doing is we're capturing the essence of those plants and putting them into a sound wave. Okay, every plant has got a frequency, or a flower has got a wave. So I could take a dandelion, I could take tobacco plant, I could take basically your nasturtiums outside, your dahlias, your roses, and capture the vibration of that, just like you can capture crystals. Very cool. Let's take a look at some of these body viewers, right? This is starting to look different ways of looking at the viewer. So once you start seeing how the changes go, we can see it on live blood cell within 10 minutes. So we want to access these biofields. So that's where the different idea of, am I burning smudge? Am I doing tobacco, cedar wood, sage, whatever it might be, lavender, whatever kanit, or whatever different herbs you want to use. One is going to enter into one realm. Your hydrocell is going to enter into another. Your nebulized with waters will go into another. Your straight essential oils into yet another field, and then you can put them physically on or internally in the body, and then you start radiating from the inside out. So this is how we can connect with different frequencies, and let's remember what happens when we start connecting with other people. Okay, birds of a feather flock together. So again, your colors, as I talked about celery and other essential oils, they're going to work in different realms, different colors, different hertz, chakras, frequencies. Acupuncture meridians. Okay, so those are some very cool stuff in here. Don't forget the plants. Don't forget the houses. Don't forget the water. Don't forget your yard around you. Don't forget about your neighborhood. Don't forget about the livestock and your pets. All of these are friendly. There is a caveat. Probably about a dozen oils do not get used with these as a rule. Gerbils, guinea pigs, camels. Done them, most of them here. So this is what I want to imprint to you. We are in a acute radiation war. So this is why I want you to use this stuff. Okay. If you want to look at the acupuncture points, you know what? If you put it on your hand, it's going to uptake it anyway. So don't get too caught up. Do I need it in the large intestine, into the liver, into the stomach, into the bladder meridian? You know where to go. And again, this is where we're putting the herbs, the oils, the tinctures, and we're listening to it at a very, very fine rate here. And here we can actually put these things on and listen to it and tell us if basically the oil or the supplement is even compatible with you. Okay. It took us 20 years to get to this point, but we pretty well got it. So I wanted to talk, and one of you guys had talked about I talked a little bit about using some of these kits here. There's one called Essentix. Okay. Therapeutic essential oil. Read the labels. Even Amazon's got great kits. Okay. Take a look at them. It says Therapeutic. If you're unsure, call the supplier. I talk to my suppliers. Okay. And this is one of my favorite ones here. This is called keyaromaShop.ca. They send anywhere. And oh my gosh, you guys, you would not believe the prices. They will actually sell to aromatherapists, but they will sell to the public. Where can you get sandalwood and vanilla for under $5-10 a bottle? Okay, so obviously when you get more expensive things like rose, jasmine, magnolia, that type of thing here, what's going to happen? Frangipani, if you haven't heard of that, that's a whole different level of like excitement. By the way, do you see I have chocolate and cacao absolute? So what you're doing is, because it is more expensive, where you don't want to be paying $200 a bottle, they'll put 2-3 drops and dilute it further in jojoba or another essential oil, and you'll still get the essence of it. So it's like a homeopathic or hydrosol of that. So again, lots of things are available here. This is Navescence again. That's out of Banff. And again, get these techniques going, because this is where you're going to learn. I've done lots of essential oil shows. I've done one. You can go to Selena 0156 on Odyssey. I did 3 hours of talking about oils there. Another way is to put them into the detox baths, right? You can add a little bit of bentonite clay or whatever you want. There's, again, not the liquids, doing the clay. You can also put the essential oils into the clay and use it as a facial mask, or if you've got edema or a cut or a burn or something, you may want to use them directly on. But again, you can cut it with a carrier oil or with some of these clays. Okay, these are amazing. Okay, so there's another kind of fun way to use that. And again, until you've tried it, don't knock it. Okay, so one of the ways in here as well is to go in and use biofeedback. And I'll talk a little bit out of it. We're going to actually put in essential oils through the vibration of the biofeedback machine today. And you're going to hear the vibration of a couple hundred oils. So instead of buying all these kits, we're going to do them through sound waves today. We're going to use the ultrasound of that plant. I'm a nurse, do not discount using Kalima boards, colonic hydrotherapy with whether it's gravity, Woods method, or an enema or a sitz bath. You're never going into the colon with an enema, let me tell you. You're only going into the bottom rectum about 2 inches. There's nothing wrong with putting warm tea or warmed essential oils like lavender and things along that line and letting them sit in that rectum. You'd be amazed how it's a natural way of microdosing without the side effects. Here I'm talking a little bit about, again, putting herbs and oils together and making poultices or paste and to stimulate the area. So it could be on the face, it could be on the abdomen, you could give yourself a foot massage, things along this line. People with, congested breast tissue and lymphatics, put it there. Again, we combine it with also essential oils with moxibustion, and that's where we get into fun things and lighten up your belly button or using an ear candle for navel candling in here. And again, we now can actually convert the essential oils into basically light. So I can put the light of a frankincense or of oregano or of any blend and put it into your actual light. And it's almost like the light is beamed into the brain. And you'll see actually the pattern or the fractal or the cymatic, like Dr. Emoto with the waters, you'll see the cymatic actually of frankincense within your brain. So again, another way is just to put a lot of different essential oils on your feet. You can do with or without onions, wrap them up with some saran wrap, and Bob's your uncle. There you go. And again, the more you start using oils, the more you start getting out some of the heavy metals. So yes, they're not the greatest thing for doing pH, but they do move you to a slightly more alkaline state. So take a look at that as well. And again, I've used them in herbal detox pearls. So I've actually soaked some of the vaginal pearls or vaginal tampons, and I have put them in with frankincense and lavender and put these into vaginal or rectal suppositories. So there's another couple things that you can do. If you haven't seen that idea, been there, done that. So take a look at some of these things here. And again, like I said, lots of different suppliers out there. So you can go individually or look into your own local stores. Okay, there's another one, Plant Guru. Again, look at the price, you guys. Like seriously, look at the price. These are therapeutic edible. And again, amazing what we can do with that. So there we go again, and we are moving into the essential oils and the frequency of that. So take a look, enjoy it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about where you can get some of these different suppliers. Again, there's us capturing the frequency of that plant material. I just love this. There's another one for vaginal or rectal suppositories, male or female. Well, I guess males don't have a vagina, but I've also used these for animals, by the way, or putting them in with maple syrup there and putting them down for pediatrics to give it to you in agave or maple syrup. Some people have used honey. Okay. So now we're going to get into how we can start steaming them. You can put the essential oils into a crock pot and do a facial steamer as well. So lots of different ways, whether you've looked at this or not looked at it and seen where you can go with this. And a lot of people always challenge, right? And they go, my doctor said that. It's not recommended. It says not to take them orally. Well, use your brain. You can always put them on your feet if you're scared about putting them internally. But I just want you to see all the different things about the NCBI and all the national centers and stuff like this and medical published journals use all these things. Just not telling you about it. They sure as hell didn't tell you doctors and MDs, even NDs. I am absolutely amazed how naturopath doctors will stay basically with low frequency herbs, low frequency homeopathics, as opposed to going in and using the essential oils. Okay. And easy to obtain. Again, you want to raise the vibration to enlightenment and joy and love. Start using those essential oils and you'll see a huge change. Like I said, when they are appropriately done, you will see the changes in people immediately. Absolutely immediately. And I think you guys will notice something here. So one of the things I wanted to show you, of course, they are used in hospitals. I joke not. I've used them myself. Look at all the hospitals that are using this. That's just in parts of the States, let alone there's 150 hospitals just in England alone. Russia uses them. France uses them. Germany uses them in their hospitals. Okay. What's wrong with the damn hospitals here? That's all you got to say. Okay. And remember, the doctor's not trained in this. So there's an idea of valor. There's another thing. I want you to see how dark blue and purple this is. Again, combinations of black spruce, camphor, geranium, blue tansy, again, frankincense, methylene blue replacement, guys. So what you want to do is move into these high vibrations. Do you want to be low vibration? No. So what can we do? What are the actual replacements here? I've replaced it for Advil, ibuprofen, Motrin, Bengay, all sorts of stuff. Scoliosis, back, anxiety. Oh my gosh, you'd see the change on the EEG. So again, take a look at some of these techniques. They're statistical. We know it works. Long time ago. And this is how we want to get into those biofeedbacks. Again, every plant has a color, a vibration, megahertz, okay? And ohm your way to back health, okay? In there again, you can apply them, and you do not have to apply them just into the area or just into the chakra, where you want to go. Again, this is something that you can use in conjunction with the whole entire spine or foot. Okay, so do not, think that you have to just do it one by one. So was that enlightening? How's everyone doing here? This is something that you're finding useful? So Brent says, I'm almost on time for a change. And we want to get some things going on in here. So one of the things, and thank you, Clarity, for sending that link on Telegram. So one of the things in here is that, wow, was that a shock to you, Clarity? You were saying you didn't know how bad coffee was. Coffee is basically should be a drug. Okay, it has its applications in a coffee bean and in a green bean. But again, take a look at what's going on. So we have lots of different plants in here. So Mary's saying, oh my gosh, hi Karen and everyone here. Late evening, watering in the garden. You got 110 heat index today. So it's about 26 here. So we're into close to the low 70s here. So these are some of the things that you can take a look at. And so Andrea says, you love it all. You really pack in a lot of information. I hope so. Okay. One of the things as well I want to take a look at on here is I want you to see how simple massage is. People make it really bloody complicated, and I don't know why. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to put into the chat room here will actually be the link. And this link in here, I'm going to want you to see what we're doing here and the application of the essential oil. So we'll look a little bit at this. I'm just going to skip a little bit through here, but I'm going to put this into the chat room here. And this is actually Dr. Gary Young himself teaching. And I know it sounds weird because you think, oh, people take a class and there's 10, 15 people. Do you know that when people were trained, they would train hundreds at a time? 300-400 massage tables were on with power screens all over the place. These were not little trainings 10, 15 years ago. So I want you to look and see the very essence of how important this was. So let's take a look. I'm going to walk you a little bit through what the raindrop technique actually is. It's absolutely amazing. So I've gone to YouTube, and if you put in raindrop technique presented by Dr. Young, you're right ballpark, because everyone's got a 3-4 minute or a 10-minute version of it. But what I want to do is go through here and just see what you have. So again, you can take whoever you're doing. I've done it on dogs. I've done it on horses. I've done it on a boar, like a pig, done it on gerbils, that kind of thing, cats, all sorts of things. So one of the things is always making sure you have your essential oils. If you need to have a book, and again, it's not rocket science to throw some liquid on someone, or if you're concerned about it, put 1 or 2 drops. I actually put 40, 50 drops on my clients and then massage it in, and then I'll wait about 3-4 minutes, and then I'll put a carrier oil on. If you're concerned about it, if you put 1 or 2 drops in a carrier oil, it's just extremely damn dilute. So I have done it on a massage table. I've done it in a library. I used to teach in the library. So we would just get sleeping bags or yoga mats and a basically blanket. I've done it, like I said, dining room chairs, done it on the beds. I've done them in hospitals. I've done them on a chair with people slumped over. I've done it actually out camping. I've done it in a sweat lodge when people have been sick. and teaching. So don't think that you need to have this elaborate setup, because you don't. You can even just do the feet. So if you want to start somewhere, I like to start basically, and even if you do a 5-minute version, someone's lying down on the bed, you put a whole bunch on their feet, you do some on the back, and you know what I do? I put a plastic bag underneath the feet, and then I add hot, wet towels to the back and hot, wet towels to the feet. And now you'll know my secret to the calm technique. Some people like to have, again, absolutely no sound, no music, and others prefer to actually have a little bit of something relaxing, like if it's water or solfeggio tone or some sort of spa type of music in the background. You want to have your room with the correct temperature. You want to remove as much jewelry or heavy metals to interfere. You don't want to be mixing this always with other techniques. We don't do it usually with Reiki or quantum touch or therapeutic touch or anything else. And for those of us that do it, you'll see I've never been into nails. I don't get why people use nail polish and stuff myself. But maybe that's that old nursing thing. I like to have things so natural, but I've got everything below because I don't want to scratch anyone here. Again, get someone to do what they need to do. Have some drinks in the room. Get it so that it's comfortable. And we're going to talk about just balancing and focusing. Have people just take some few deep breaths. Get them into a state of calm. And then we're going to eliminate as much chemical or toxic exposure as you can. So in other words, 5G or Wi-Fi proof the house as much as you can. And again, you should be dressed in appropriate attire. And so are my clients. Even to this day, I've never seen anyone all naked. I'm not into that. Professionally, I'm not going to put anything at risk here. So again, have the appropriate drapings. Usually for women, we will have a small towel or a hand towel. And they can apply things if they want to the breast area, they can apply it to themselves. And there's nothing wrong with giving the essential oils to your client, and they can do into any other area that you don't want to contact. Okay. I'm totally about them doing that, or lift the sheet and let them scrub themselves down. And again, one of the things a lot of people like to do is do physical contact. Right now, these days, I don't advise that. And the reason why is because there's too many things transmitting. So there's nothing wrong with doing nitrile gloves, because some of your latex and other things, you put some essential oils on and it'll just eat the plastic because it's a chelator. And we want to take this out. So these are one of the things, and I'm just going to introduce you to what Dom Gary Jung has done. Again, cousin to Dr. Robert Young, by the way. So I really give a lot of credit to him. He pioneered a lot of the essential oils. And you know what? I will credit him. He was here before doTERRA. doTERRA trained under him for probably 5-10 years. So he brought these back. He was able to see energies. He was a clairvoyant, and he could see the biofield and the auras. He was also one of the ones that went to the Temple of Isis and into the King's Chamber and was able to decode a lot of those sacred recipes that are on there with the lotuses and all sorts of different things. So as you can see, and I'm going to skip through this quickly, what he's going to do is he has the client is actually sitting face up. And the reason he's doing face up because he's going to apply the essential oils to the bottom of the feet, and he's going to take his time. I've also put it where I've just put all 10 oils or 15 oils or 3 oils into basically a dish and just slap them on. Okay. If you want to get biblical, that's what they were doing. They were anointing with the sandalwood and the alabaster. We don't do that to this day. What you'll see is that we can put it into the hand and he can activate it, but you can see he's really lubricating and marinating those feet. It's going to be with valor on both feet. He's going to concentrate on the inner part where the spine is. So even if you don't know reflexology, I mean, who can't do this? You know, if your head is up there in the toes and your butt's down at the bottom, it's pretty simple for a mapping. So what he's doing is he's putting it in the left hand, and sometimes you'll activate it with the right hand and do it clockwise. So again, you can apply these on here. I have found myself, as you see, she just dropped some stuff. I never have white sheets as a rule unless I got towels underneath. I learned in the clinic a long time ago. I marinate people, and don't use silk sheets and stuff. It could be a mess or bamboo. So I do have natural fabrics, but again, you can have patterns or stuff like that, or at least have a towel, a hemp bamboo or linen, as much natural fabric as you can do. I want you to see what he's doing with his hands. Do you see how he's got his arms crossed? He's facing her. This is like a battery, left to left, right to right. If you were car, this is your red to red and your black to black. We've got another facilitator on the other side, and you can see she doesn't have her hands crossed, but she's coming in at that polarity. This is polarity. He's going to hold the feet, and he's going to wait till he feels lub dub, and he's actually feeling for the energetic pulses like you feel in traditional Chinese medicine. And this is quite the trip. If you think energy and Reiki is something, until you've experienced this, you feel this energy just go through you. You just feel this like vibrational little essential oil orgasm. So this is something that you can go in there. And he's going to keep applying these oils, oregano, thyme, basil. Now, again, he's starting really at the base and coming up. This is basically what we do, vitaflex. So I was trained in Tibetan vitaflex as well. So again, you can do it with all the oils all at once, or you can do it separately. What they were doing is they will be dropping the oil sometimes also from above in the biofield, because it changes it as it goes through the different vibrations and the energy heat waves coming off the actual body. So as you can see, that's not rocket science. I'm sure you guys can all do this. So if nothing else, like I said, just put them on, and you can do them separately. One of the other things I always copiously do is peppermint for pain. So if you do not use hot, wet towels, you'll have a nice massage, and hopefully most of it does not evaporate off the table or your client. But what you can certainly do is put a plastic bag and then a hot, wet towel or 2 towels, and basically do a hot towel compress like you would do similar to castor oil. So marinate those feet, have some fun. Again, you can do legs, you can do all sorts of stuff. Once you get someone turned over, and this is actually a really amazing thing, we were checking for leg length. We were looking at the spine. We were looking to see anything irregularity. And we're actually, you can see he's feeling the energy off the individual. So those clients, again, we can start if you're sensitive to energy. And I used to do all my massages, by the way, on something called an amethyst crystal biomat, a little different than just a straight PMF, but I could actually fill it up about 2 feet off the actual body. So take a look at that. And again, these days, get a feel for the skin, the texture, and what you're going to do. This is where you can use some tuning forks if you want. So you can get your 128 down at the bottom of the spine and go up the facets on each vertebrae. Okay, if you've got someone in a lot of pain, what I'm going to do is put 3-4 drops of peppermint. What I have found in my experience now is only to use maybe a drop or 2, because the oregano and the thyme, and those are so powerful. Do not get them up near the neck, because you can get them into the folds of people. If anything gets too hot and a little bit spicy or a little bit warm, these are not allergies. These are, again, detox things happening. So you can see he's putting them along the base of the spine. And you can massage them through effleurage, which is very light massaging, or you can go into a little bit more, a little bit into the fascia, a little bit of the tissues there. And again, he's just feathering it up. So basically, that's kind of a fun thing. But you can massage it however you like. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just a technique that was used based on the kit. And the kit was used for oregano and thyme to go in there and go through the antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. And this is where your childhood injections guys all store, by the way. Most people didn't know that. So a lot of the cancers, the frequencies, and all that store in there. So again, what I would do is then put a lot of carrier oil on, use different techniques, whatever you like. Again, this is something that you can massage with. And what I would do would be putting a hot, wet towel. And I found that the difference from putting a hot, wet towel was the difference from someone getting out of pain and not. So again, I want you to take a look at this. When we did other things, we would actually turn someone over. You could, again, checking the leg length, and again, putting a little bit of pressure. And again, if you can imagine, 400 or 500 people, 1,000 people being trained at every sitting was done with these things. And again, what he's doing is you can go into now your emotional release, mental traumas. There are kits and blends for that when you need to go into having more bliss, or for sorrow, for sexual abuse, ritual abuse. And again, you can put them on the outside of the ear and doing your auricular therapy. And again, putting them on the third eye, doing a facial. And again, you can do the cranial sacral at this point. So there's a lot of things you can do. You're feeling in the back. You're trying to relieve that tension. You can also feel underneath in the occipital bone and cradle your fingers. And you're basically, I call it like a wiggle worm. And you're going to actually put them under each side of the actual head. And you're literally going to hold it and do a wiggle worm there for about 30 seconds. You'd be amazed how incredible that feels. Okay. And that's using some of the vitaflex technique. Another one that was developed from was from Stanley Burroughs. He wrote a famous book many years ago, about 30 years ago, called Healing for Enlightenment. And his disciple, or who took over from him, is a friend of mine, Tom Wolowishin. So if you want to look at more intense things on how to do vitaflex, again, we have a different technique than using acupressure. We use a technique with its basically touch, roll over, and release, because there was no more piezoelectrical energy that was going through than just pushing someone. So is that pretty cool? How are you guys enjoying this? Okay, so Slowfinger says my stream is breaking up. She's going to check back in later. She's going to watch the repost. J Rose, health coach, is asking, do you need to use a carrier oil? You can use it with or after. So I usually use a carrier oil after. And Valerie says, I am relaxing watching him. Okay, and that Nanette says, this was so helpful. I love the wiggle figures, yes. And I used to do a technique. It's basically vitaflex. We would go up the spine. So it's basically touch, bend over, release. And it is actually, it takes a while to get this, let me tell you, and to be ambidextrous and get them up. But if you go on the outside of the spine, and basically what you're doing is you're going on the outside facets, you will feel like an electrical charge, like someone's battery boosted you on each individual vertebrae. Okay, so that's where I would actually see the changes in the clients. So again, there are many different forms of that. And like I said, I put that into the chat room there. Now, one of the things too is people always say, oh, what about my doggy? What about my cat? Well, guess what? If we said raindrop massage for dogs or for pets, and you put Calgary vet there, basically what's going to happen, you're going to come up here and you are going to see people actually doing this on animals. So again, I've actually put hot, wet towels on. We've done it on dogs. We've done it on wolf dogs and all sorts of different things here. So again, these are different options that you can do. And we're going to take a look at just one briefly here. And I want you not to be scared. I want you to think of this as liquid food. Okay, so this is a really, really important technique to use. And again, like I said, I've used it in so many different people. I've done it on plants, by the way. So let's take a look here at the Calgary holistic vets doing it. And by the way, when I was trained in holistic veterinary with essential oils, when we were down in Utah, he had exotic things like camels and all sorts of stuff. So you can see what she's doing. She's letting it get near the field, and she's just going to drop it along the back and the withers, just like you would with anyone else. I've also put it on their pads. Now, what are you not going to put on? You know, oregano or cayenne pepper or something like that. You know, have a little bit of, you know, sensibility in there. Okay, so she's measuring it and just putting it in and dropping it along the spine. So she's going to go through all her different oils. And again, it could be lavender, it could be frankincense, it could be tea tree, it could be citronella, it could be whatever you want. So she's going to go through each one of those oils and she's going to apply them to the dog, okay, and massaging them in. And again, sometimes most animals really, really love it. So again, you can apply that. And the only difference I've done is actually to use also sometimes a hot, wet towel. Okay, so there's your doggy one. Is that pretty cool? So I think those are some of the very cool things you can look at. So the vitaflex reflexology is one of the other things I talked about. So whether you call it reflexology, call it whatever you want, these are different techniques that you can look at. Okay, and one of the ones, like I said, you can do training, you can do all sorts of different things, but I think people need to be really self-learning here, you know, and again, can you apply it to yourself? Absolutely. Let's take it someone that is doing a self-care. You have to be able to look after yourself first before you can look after others. So if you need someone to practice on, do it on yourself first, right? So let's take a look here. Self-care with the vitaflex. Okay, so what we do, take your socks off, get comfortable. It could be in the bed, could be on the couch. And then you're going to start applying those essential oils to the feet. So it's not rocket science. You can do all sorts of them. And so get your feet up there and start doing your own foot massage. And a lot of times what I'll do is get the aromatherapy on, then I get the carrier oil on. And you know what I do? I have a big plastic bag, like a garbage bag, right? The black, the orange, the blue, whatever color, just like you would use for leaves or for the garbage. And I put it there, and then I put a hot, wet towel. You are missing everything if you don't do that technique. It is so much more effective. It's pushed in. So there you go. You can apply the different oils, whatever you like. And this is a great thing to do. When I broke my knee, I actually applied all those essential oils 3 to 4 times a day. So just like they would do drugs, I did it 3-4 times a day, applied it to my knee, and then I put a hot wet towel on, and then I put a plastic bag on. So there she goes. She's activating it and getting it on the feet. Again, you can do it on the arms, any area of the body. You know, get that going. Again, on the ears is another way to do it for facials as well. So this is something that I think is really, really important to take a look at, because there are so many different things that you can do for self-care. And again, if you're doing someone else, then again, you are reversing the procedure. You're putting them just in a relaxed position, and you're going to get those essential oils going. Okay. And from there, you can just start applying it. So again, let's take a look. She's actually applied usually 2-3 oils. So a lot of people would use white angelica. They would use Valor, or they would apply 2-3 oils, or in a mister, you could actually do a bit of a spritzer around people as well too, because sometimes you want to clean that area and field around you. So there's a question here. I think I'll try that on my pouch. Oh, pouch. Oh, a doggy. Okay. Are there certain oils not to use? Yes, as I mentioned before, just look at the 12 oils. And I'll tell you, I had animals dying. I used them anyway. Okay. If a dog's going to die, or a dog's that sick, or it's got parvo, or it's got something else, toxoplasmosis, I've used them anyway. And the dogs have pulled through. So you got to weigh out the things. But if you want, there's about 12 oils, and we'll go through that right after I show this about which ones not to use. So the hot towels open the pores and drive it in. So again, essential oils, carrier oil, hot wet towel pushes it through, and you can see it in the change in the blood. I can see it in your blood. Everything's swimming around and looking really cool in about 10 minutes. Okay, so what are the best pressed oils? Best priced oils. Again, if you're down the States, New Direction, you can look on Amazon. You're looking for 2 words, therapeutic organic, or therapeutic and organic, or whatever. Call your suppliers. So again, New Directions, Key Aroma, Essential Aura, Healing Solutions, Plant Guru, or again, go look at bulk essential oils organic and just do a Google search. Every country is different. Like I said, when we're doing to Australia, or I'm doing it to Europe or whatever, those are the places to go look at it. So let's just take a quick look here at another vitaflex technique. If you have any questions, put them in now, because we're going to go through this, and I'll come back in a couple of minutes, and we're going to take a look at this and see what comes up here. Okay, so let's go in, and we're going to take a look at another vitaflex technique. So this is actually in Kelowna, not that far from me. And again, it's about the quality of the oil. So again, you can see what she's doing. She's doing energy balancing. I have given up touching anyone with my hands. I've just learned way too much. You need to be using nitrile gloves. Okay, nitrile gloves, at least you can put them on, and the oils are going to the client. Okay, so I do not want anything like skin to skin contact with anyone. With just, again, you may have people there, pure bloods or whatever, but you're still getting shedding. You don't know what they're carrying in the biofield. Okay, so as I said, there's a whole bunch of things. I'm glad she's having a great time. Until you've experienced this, look at what she's doing again. Okay, and the client should not be touching her hands there. She should be keeping them on her sides, or touching an area. You don't want any, screwing up, because what you're doing is you're like a battery booster. You're trying to fill left to left, right to right. You're looking through the acupuncture meridians to start getting the blocks. And again, you can see she's just applying the oils, and she's doing a foot massage. You want to learn this. This is a great way to take a look at stuff like that. So the vitaflex technique, like I said, is basically a reflexology technique. It was an ancient Tibetan one in here. And one of the best places to look through that was actually with Tom Wolowishin. And you can take a look at that, or the book we'll take a look at here is Healing for Enlightenment. So one of the things in here, and I'm going to bring it if you want it to see, I trained also with Tom. He's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to show you this as well. Again, this is stuff you're only going to get from people that are masters of these different arts and scientists, because this is not out there. Trying to look for this, unless you know what you're looking for, have fun. These are the things that get passed down from educators and stuff like to the next level of people here. So let's take a look here. So if you look at Abundant Health for You, which was a great little company, by the way, in the day, but there is Tom Wolowishin. He's on Vancouver Island, but he used to go all over. It was an ancient massage technique used by Stanley Burroughs. And again, it was their DVDs, and you can get a hold of him and start looking at these. Okay, so these are some of the different people that have been in the field a long, long time. And those people that want to go on and take further training, you absolutely could. But I think, frankly, we've all got our videos on there. You can learn from the masters without paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a crack here. So it's actually about getting proper information. So here is vitagem.com. This is more about Tom Wallowson's practice between Louise Hayes, which is the basically healing for the emotions based on there. So if you want to learn a little bit about color therapy, vitaflex therapy, he's a big one on master cleansing and doing therapeutic fasting, things along that line. So there is basically where you can take a look at it. And I think he's still got some Facebook groups as well. So that is actually one of the most important things we can look at. One of the things I want to go a little bit into here with you guys is boosting the vibration. Okay. So basically what happens, we are looking at the 4 elements, actually 5. So air, fire, water, and earth, and the 5th element being the spirit or the ether. And basically distillation was thought to remove the spirit from the plant, and there they would be the high concentration that you were getting in the energy or the spiritual life force of the essential oils. And they can be distilled from almost any different part. It could be leaves, bark, flower, seeds, all sorts of things here. So one of the things, like I said, we even have to pick up. There's some plants that only actually bloom 1 or 2 days a year, and they have to be hand-packed in the morning before the heat, because otherwise that will destroy the integrity of those plants. Okay, so this is a huge thing. It's not just little here. So like I said, we were using things on CFM monitors, which were calibrated frequency monitors, and all sorts of cool things in there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those different books and why I think they're really, really important to gain, because you need to have the information here. And one of the most important books I have ever come across to this day is still the Essential Oil Desk Reference. Okay, so you cannot stress it enough. And I'm going to put this in the chat room. Okay, because I found the secret of all secrets about 2-3 weeks ago. And I want to go through this book. And I was just talking with Robert Bowery. He's actually looking at using Perplexity and using note makers and stuff like that about getting this in. And again, you could put it into some sort of an AI or editor and get this going. But we're going to go through a few things here because I think information, this is an informational war, if anything else. Let's take a look at this critical piece of information that I think you need to have. The first books, and always the first book I recommend. So if you go to archive.org, my favorite thing, and put Essential Oil Desk Reference. Now, this was the 7th edition, but some edition is better than nothing. So let's take a look at this, and we're going to expand out into here. And let's take a look at what's in this book. Okay, this is, I haven't seen anything come close to it. I seriously haven't. Tislin's and all the other different ones and Valais ones, all of these different ones over the years, this is actually the most important for you because it's divided into why did they come? What was the history of the oils? How did they do extraction? How did it get rediscovered after Tartarian? What are the biblical references? So if that's what floats your boat, then there's a whole bunch of different chapters on that. So let's take a look at that. Okay. How do you have standards? How do you have testing? My gosh, people go to the grocery store. They don't care what they put in their mouths, but everyone's like all upset because like, what do we get for oils? Well, get an organic oil and you don't go wrong. And again, it's about seed to seal. It's like from the garden to the bottle. Okay. And basically guidelines for safe use are generally regarded as safe, what you can do. So there's lots of different things in here. Okay. And that's what we want to go through here. Again, on here, you're looking at the essential oil blends. You're looking at singles. You are looking at nutritional support. You are looking at hormones and avoiding synthetic things that disrupt the hormones. How to use it in bath, showers, gels, deodorants, hair care, hand purifiers, lip balms, pain relief, shaving, All sorts of things can be used. Natural skincare. Okay, how to use it for children. How to protect your home. How to use it for animals. We have a whole section here on veterinary medicine, you guys, on top of it. Then we're going to talk about the techniques of using neuroauricular techniques, lymphatic, vitaflex, and all those things. And there's a whole section on cleansing, on diets, on signs of overload, even toxic liver, daily maintenance, environmental protection. All this stuff is in this tiny little book. I think it's the best thing ever. So again, all sorts of guides. And in the very back, there's a whole thing to do with brain function, fluoride, frankincense, dental. Why not to use microwaves? We're still saying that after 20 years. I can hardly imagine people still have it unless you're using it for a Faraday cage. And then at the back, every disease almost known A to Z. So I'm just going to quickly flip through some of this here. You're going to see again how it is harvested, organic, where the scriptures are. There's 188 of them, by the way, in case you need to count. I did. Okay. So there's all sorts of things, different schools of application. It was the creator's first medicine, do no harm, with common sense. Again, on the hieroglyphics, on the temples, all these things have got a history that go back. Even in the 1800s, in the papyruses, they're on there as well. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're Cree, Dakota, Egyptian, Russian, it's everywhere. And these, just to see that, if you wanted to see here. When they talked about the shekels, there's over 200 references, as I said, to the aromatics and the incense and the ointments, okay? In here, the most common ones you would heard would be cinnamon, frankincense. That's why they said oil salesman or, cheap oil stuff, or you're a quack, is because the snakes used to wrap around the frankincense tree. So you had to get past the snakes to get to the frankincense and the resin and everything else. But if you want to go into whatever Moses said, who was actually known to be the great Musa, is his right word from Eastern medicine, or known to be the lawgiver or the chieftain or the grand Pindar dragon of the matriarchs of the clan mothers, by the way. He was just delivering the law of the land from the actual clan mothers at the time, the queens. It says myrrh, 500 shekels. That's about a gallon. So let's even do that. So if I took 5 drops and 5 drops and 2 drops and 5 more drops, there you go. So myrrh, cinnamon, which is like cassia, okay, calamus, and all those things. So there are different formulas in here. And actually, we know things, and a lot of people saying it was actually cannabis essential oil. And there's cannabis and damia essential oils. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, okay, on why they took that. And then the rediscovery happened. Basically, Dr. Gadafas was actually a French cosmetic chemist. Basically, there was a lab accident in the 1930s and stuff like that. He basically put his hand, got it burnt, He had nothing there. He thought it was water, put some stuff off, and it was lavender. And lavender basically cut the burn, and he had no scarring. Oh my gosh, they rediscovered it. So through an accident or whatever, that is what happened. So these are some of the different trainings and stuff like that. So this is a very, very essential book, and all the different places. So I actually have been out here where we've actually done the distribution here. So cedarwood, frankincense, hyssop. So if you like to read stuff, it's in here. Okay, and also in the other books called the Pseudepigraphica and the Apothegm. So if you know about the other books as well, Book of Enoch, there's always references. Do we test them? Yes, that's why you want it organic. You don't want it as a perfume grade or genetically modified, or where it might just say pure or natural. You need to see those words, if not, called them. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with all my aromatherapy and doing the whole different thing here in the background, but that's stuff that you can be self-reading and using these instruments, okay? So there's gas chromatographs, and I want you to see that this is very important, because what we're talking about here is it's the power of the aroma. I want you to see that where we store trauma and fear, like a computer, we loop. Okay, some people are triggered, they have post-traumatic stress, whatever it might be. Your sense of smell and the olfactory epithelium and the olfactory stuff, even to the nerves, bypass the hardwiring of the brain. That's why to this day, the senses of smell is the only one of the 12, they say 5, but it's 12, that is linked to the limbic system. So you can actually take off negative emotions. You may still remember it, but at least you're not going to be traumatized or in a catatonic state or shaking. Okay. And that is the most important thing for my people, is that basically that you can handle the situation. Even today, everyone should have oils. Okay. Lots of documentation here. There's no lack of research. Look at all the footnotes. So again, I talked about having grade 1. There's therapeutic at the top of the pyramid. Then you get organic, and then the rest, don't even touch them. Okay. And that is why synthetic biology, okay, that is why it's so important to have the appropriate grade. You know, we have enough semi-synthetics and hormone and estrogen disruptors in here. Okay, so I have actually worked on these areas. I have had the pleasure to actually take that pitchfork and throw it into a 2-story vat for distillation. Okay, there is nothing more important to me than learning the art. You have to be able to at least know about it, to participate in it. No one can take that away. So we do oils during the summer, during the fall, and winter harvesting. And those, by the way, your cedarwood and spruce are actually up from Northern Canada and British Columbia, by the way. So if it all goes down, I've still got the distillers up here. Okay, and Coeur d'Alene. So take a look at that. I want you to see how important these big operations. And again, these are the ones called regarded as safe for, can you see that? By the FDA. Blow my little brain away. The FDA said you can use it as a food additive, just like you've got spices in your cabinet, guys. So take a look at that. So that's why I'm saying don't get too caught up in this. We've all known what cardamom is, and basil and dill. Those are amazing things here. And like I said, you don't usually have allergies to it. What you're doing is you're bringing out toxins. Okay, so again, how to do it topically, how to do it massage. We have acupuncture. We actually have acupuncturists dipping their needles into essential oils as frankincense. Compresses, hot packs, cold packs, layering, baths. Do you know I actually put it in my paint? So I actually put it into the paint, which was non-VOC as well. But paints and painting your house, creating a different vibration. You can put it in hydrosols or stuff like that to use it as a pesticide instead of fungicides and herbicides, by the way. These are all different things. And of course, humidification, right? Vaporizing, okay? Direct inhalation, vaginal retention, again, rectal. So again, enemas, colonics, clemas, yoni steams, yoni pearls, all those things I've talked to you a little bit about there. So look at the beautiful things that you can do. You can look at all your stuff here, even in what do you use for children? How do you protect your home? What do you use for animals? These are absolutely gorgeous, absolutely stunning. And that's why I'm saying you can go into here and take a look at all this stuff. Okay, so all the different things that you have in here, right? How to use these oils for cleansing, for diet, whatever you might want to go into. Now, even if I talked about the Raindrop a little bit, and there's our horses and dogs and everything else, there's your vet med. Into here, the section will go into Raindrop. As I said, you can apply it, massage it, drop it. Don't stick it down the ear canal. Do it on the outside parts of the ear. This is the neuroauricular technique. We'll also use crystals or glass probes instead of acupuncture needles. Can't stand needles. Not necessary, actually, guys. Lymphatic drainage, lymphatic pumps, how to go through the vitaflex technique. Again, along the spine is going into the organs. So if you want to do a liver cleanse, a colon cleanse, the liver, kidney, whatever. Again, reproductive. Things getting cleared out of the lungs. Okay, eye, hair, head stuff. Again, there's your quick charts. Very simple. Okay, and that's why you cover it. So again, these are very quick techniques. And one of the things I wanted just to backtrack here, there's something that just reminds me, I think I still know this book inside and out. In here, it talks about microorganisms may cause scoliosis and sciatica. So I want to say that again. And what we also know is that when people took the injections, even from back in the 60s and 70s, guess where they stored, guys? That's why Raindrop technique is one of your best things for recovery from the people that took the you-know-what. Okay, and how the Lakota and Dakota Indians did this is between Saskatchewan and Manitoba is basically when they actually took the people after the Tartarian days and basically put them into slave colonies called cities, corporations, unincorporated, or going into basically what you call bands of reserves, which are still a slave colony. This is what they did. So eventually this was being done. They would do it through their mind, actually. But this is where a lot of this stuff like Manitou and things like this came to be. So I want you to see how important this is. Okay. And there are chiropractors that were using this. I worked in chiropractic clinics. I also worked with other chiropractors, and they would use 2-3 oils on every client, because what we knew is that it could actually get rid of it. And it says it here very clearly, right? Let's take a look at this. This is not rocket science, but it's right in the book. It says they're one of the most powerful inhibitors of microbes known to this day, not drugs, but of microbes. It's not only a new, but it's an old weapon for tissue infections. The studies have showed everything from gram-positive to negative bacteria, from Klebsiella to Pseudomonas to Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, everything. So you can use some of these oils like lemon to put it into your water, or peppermint. Okay, oregano, thyme, and peppermint and basil were one of the best things. Again, strep. Okay, there are other options than using drugs. Okay, and especially for emotional release. And children tend to respond better and faster. So like animals, you only need a couple drops. Okay, so this is the simplest exclamation I can possibly make for you. Okay, and there we went through the preparation. Okay, so if you need these different things on how to do something, it's not rocket science. But can you see how well it is laid out? And I love the colors. And again, I think what's really important is used in here, just like we used in the old days, is the application of frankincense, cedarwood, all those incredible oils. Okay, because it's the first time that you get the ion channels in the brain that basically could make behavioral changes to people. Okay, instead of anti-anxietals and Ritalin. So again, there's all the different things. So again, they're designed for colors, through thoughts, through emotions, into the hippocampus, and all those type of things. Okay, so it's not just about releasing, it's about relaxing. Okay, and all these different things. Like I said, there are oils if you were having abuse, agitation, boredom, concentration, depression, fear, grief, sorrow, whatever, mood swings. Okay, there's stuff in here. And then there's cleansing. So those are some of the different things. Again, how to use the oils. And again, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Again, important. What's Karen's favorite other topic? Dealing with it for pH, getting some litmus paper, doing the cleansing, boosting your friendly floras. All those things in here are very, very, very important. And so I'm just going to skip to the back here for a sec. I want you to see that basically it doesn't matter what you have. Morning sickness, pregnancy, how to use it. There is a formula for all of this. So take a look at this. And like, I don't think you're going to be sorry that this happened. So do we have any questions? Because that's going to be a little bit what we're talking about. I'll be doing this with also Sabrina and with Dabuma's channel. We've been asked to teach a little bit about vibration and accessing the biofield. So I think that's really, really important, and take a look at those things. Look at all the books I have here. And one of my newest ones that I love is called Sacred Solfeggio, the Raindrop Harmonics and Raindrop Technique, and using all the different, basically, tuning forks. So again, the tuning forks that will work with the essential oils. So again, you're going to use an oil. Only this time you won't be able to hear it. But this time we're going to put some essential oils to everyone here. And we're going to do a fun thing here. And let's get the old Genius out. So how many of you have not had an experience with the Genius? If you have not had an experience with the Genius and would like to have even just a 10-minute demo, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, we have 30, 60, and 90-minute sessions, which are pretty cool. And again, we can start assessing what the energy in the biofield looks like on you guys. So this is really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get some essential oils going here. And then what we're going to see is what is the sound of frankincense? What is the sound of peppermint? What is the sound of any of these different oils? So it's very, very important that you realize there's a vibration. And again, most of that stuff we can't hear, right? So let's take a look at this. I'm going to do mine for today. I like to do this because it's amazing. So you can hook it up for just the sound, if you don't want to use magnetics, if you don't want to use any kind of sensors or any kind of a wave, again, you can just use this with the pure sound. So don't be upset by something like that. You know, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's got a different comfort level. So anyway, what happens is when you're using the voice comes in and it has basically a vibration. And every letter, every sound, even the plant, what it's named, and the genus and the phylum and the species has a meaning. Okay, so even that vibration of that, we can actually test for and see if that's something that someone needs. So again, we're going to go in. We can do it by sound, voice, picture, all of the above, none of the above, whatever we want. So how many of you pick a cup of oil? What's one of your favorite oils? And we're going to have and hear the sound of it. So let's go with that. So put the oil that you would like in the chat room that you would like to hear the sound of, because we'll play the sound of that frequency or the blend. So I have all those oils I showed you in here. So I've got Young Living, doTERRA, I've got Singles, I've got Navescence, I've got Eden's Gardens, and several other ones. So put in the chat room what you would like to hear. Okay, or we can make a blend of whatever you want. So if there's something that you think would be kind of cool, we're going to do that. So Clarity came up with she would like to hear the sound of peppermint. So we're going to give you the sound of peppermint. So again, I want you to think that the sound or that you're receiving the peppermint in there. You'd like to hear Valor, Clarity, and you'd like to hear Rose. Brett's like to get frankincense, bergamot, and geranium. Okay, so here are a whole bunch of oils. So let's say I just want to pull out peppermint. I can just type peppermint here. There's peppermint. I know hard to see. I'm going to put it into my tray, and we are going to basically play just the peppermint. So there's the peppermint. So we're going to listen to it. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to envision the plant, the oil. I want you to envision that you're putting it on your feet. You're putting a drop in the water, and you're bringing in that smell of the frankincense or the peppermint. And in this case, we're going to use peppermint, or even think of it as peppermint tea. So I want you to tell me what you're feeling, where you're feeling it in the body. Let's take a listen for a few seconds, shall we? There's your 76 megahertz coming in. Okay, so there we've got our frankincense. Okay, so we are going to go in, and Brent's mentioned frankincense, bergamot, and geranium. So I'm going to clear my zap tray here, and we're going to take this out, and we're going to put in, basically, we want to get in here. What should we get? We're going to get yours, Brent, and we'll get that in here. So we're going to go back to our essential oil category and take it out of here. So I'm going to look for bergamot, and we're going to put the bergamot in. So yes, we have bergamot into the tray. We have some frankincense we're going to put in for him. There's the frankincense. We'll put that into the tray. And your last one was geranium. So we're going to put some geranium in too. So let's take a listen to what all those are doing. So put the geranium in. So we have a tray here then with the 3 items. And now what we're going to do is we are going to actually play those 3 for Brett. Okay, Brent, let's see what this does. Are you guys having fun? I want you to see how easy this is. Okay, so again, I've already gotten the essential oils. I've put them in, and I've got the sound or the wave, the signature of them. And Clarity's right. She could feel peppermint on her tongue and down the spine. Absolutely, because it's coming in different energies, different fields, right? So this is BIOFIELD clearing with sound. So we can see what Brent notices. This is his frankincense, bergamot, and geranium combination here. Nice deep breaths. Just, you can even imagine that you are doing someone that you love. Imagine them on the bed or on the massage table, and you're dropping these 3 oils, just like I taught you. I want you to think about energetically massaging it. Just pretending, but do it in your mind. Do it visually. And there we go. So Clarity would like to go, there's someone, yes, Clarity. She wants something with a blend. Okay, so let's get those blends out here. and we're going to clear that again. So I'm going to go into my special category, which is called custom. So that's what I did. I added all those custom essential oils in, because again, we only have about the top 30 oil. They were Young Living, but now I can start going into blends or whatever I want. So we're going to see about using Valor. That's a great choice there. Okay, so I'm going to go into my Young Living category here. So I'm going to type in Young Living, and you want to see all the Young Living categories I've got? Lots of them. Look at all those categories. So we're going to go into the blend, not singles. So we're going to go into the blends, and we're going to go look for actually Valor. And there we go. There's the Valor in the blue. We're going to bring it up into the tray, and we're going to play that Song of the Valor. Okay, so here we go. We're going to open up that. We've got our Valor there. Again, chiropractor in a bottle. So again, close your eyes. Remember, I showed you that bottle. I showed you what's running at 46 megahertz. That's why we call it. You can start moving things on the physical. When I saw a spine move the first time and someone gain an inch and decompress that spine, I was on board. That changed my entire nursing career, that moment. Second moment is when I found it and experienced it myself. So as we're saying, we are taking a look at different things here. And Clarity said she can feel the peppermint on her tongue and her spine. And Brent as well said, I have the aroma in my nostrils and tingles in my fingers. Okay, we used to do this. This is why I really appreciate what Ryan Williams has done at Inside Health Apps. It's way beyond Rife. It's way beyond what even Royal Rife was doing. He's the Rife of the century, let me tell you. So there is that. Now, one of the highest frankincense we talked about was actually using a rose, or you could use a blend with rose. And one of the things that Young Living had that had one of those blends was actually called, if you can imagine, it was called Joy. So one of the singles that we have here on Young Living, I can go into here and we are going to look at the rose, and we're going to get some of that going in here. And I think what would be really cool would also be to put some joy. I think we need to put some joy back into our lives. So I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I'm really into, I think we should do some joy. And one of the things in here is when I put the joy in, and I want to use one, I've got two favorite ones in here. One is called Peace and Calming and Egyptian Gold. So we're going to use that to have different components within there. And the Valor made Clarity feel floaty. Okay, so let's listen. I'm going to do Peace and Calming because it's my favorite thing in the world. Okay, Lime's another one. But anyway, I want you to experience what it's like to have basically peace and calming, but to have that basically, and we're going to look at that because I think that's so important to do that. So let's listen to the peace and calming frequency. So Valerie's noticing that her face is tingling and her sinuses have opened up. So again, close your eyes. Peace and calming actually calms. If you can imagine an EEG and you're feeling a little bit stressed, it calms the mind. Okay, it's one of the top things in the world. If you don't know what oil to get or make, peace and calming is it. Rose, like what we were talking about in there a little bit, is that the rose is sometimes so high frequency, or magnolia or jasmine, that those flowers send people, they just can't handle that. But if you give them peace and calming with the tangerine and the oranges and the patchouli, it smells nice, but it calms the mind. So I can give peace and calming to anyone. There's never going to be a reaction. Okay, we're going to do that. Now let's see what that's doing to all of you. And this is my called Walk Like an Egyptian. Okay, let's look at that. Walk like an Egyptian. Anyway, there we go. So let's get that going. And see if you guys are noticing tingliness. Valerie's noticing their sinuses are opening up. So let's take all of those different oils, and we're going to take that whole entire raindrop of oils and put those blends in, and we're going to see what that does. And then we're going to give you just a dandelion frequency. So again, we've got herbs at about 30 hertz, or these are going into the hundreds, almost 1,000 hertz. Okay. So that's really important. Okay, endoflex and thieves and all sorts of things in there. Abundance. I think we could all use a little abundance. It doesn't hurt to have abundance, does it? So let's see what this does. So let's close our eyes again. Imagine those smells coming in. And we are going through you. Sometimes if you want to see actually what those oils are doing, this is a very cool thing to do. Let's say if I want to look at the aura field, we're going to see what it's going to do to the aura. And again, the oils have a frequency of sound. So we basically put a very high micro speaker up to those plants and they talk to us, right? So we're getting the sound. It's like doing a satellite version of them. So let's see what that does, and we'll watch the waves go through here. Again, it's great for meditation and for those of us that need to see visualization. Let's run that through the frequency here. So let's try those essential oils, and we will go into that. So let's put all of our oils in for fun, and if there's anything people would like to know, now is your time to ask. Well, we have a few more things in here. So I'm going to put in Young Living. I'm going to put in doTERRA. I'm going to put all my favorite oils in. We're going to have an oil blend party here. Okay. And again, there's another oil we'll talk about. We'll do another section on what's called releasing emotional patterns or negative emotions with that. So we're going to put the Young Living in. We'll put a little doTERRA for those people that like doTERRA. There's my entire doTERRA. We'll put the entire category of doTERRA in too. Why not? We are going to put in some Eden's Gardens and Key Aroma. We could do that as well. So any of those oils, like I said, if you've got anything that you like, there's the entire Key Aroma shop here. So again, we're going to open up all these Key Aroma ones. And then the other ones I like too are Eden's Gardens. So again, Eden's Gardens, you never get one supplier to give you everything. Okay. And again, I've got a whole bunch of these here. One of the top things is you're going to have chocolate essential oils for things like that. So we're going to actually drop all these essential oils in here. And basically what we're going to do, we're going to run them all. So we're going to run about 200-300 oils. You guys ready? Okay, let's see what it does. So we're doing an aromatherapy. We're doing my calm technique, which is karenann McDonald, but it's my calm there. So there we go. So the doTERRA's balance is basically the same as Valor. So doTERRA copied basically the Valor. So your balance is the same thing there, but I can get that specifically. So Clarity said her neck and shoulders have just dropped. So again, it's one thing to give it to someone else, but I want you to imagine that we have me and I'm standing over you and I am dropping all these essential oils on you. So I want you to imagine that you're on a massage table on my heated amethyst bed. And I am dropping this incredible essential oil aromatherapy bath all over you. And I want you to imagine what it feels like to have on the feet, up the legs, on your back, and very nice warm towels. Let's imagine that. Okay, there we go. Now, what is that doing for you guys? Okay, there you go. So that is absolutely phenomenal. Let's see what that did. And Lydia asked me for just what the sound, not of silence, but the sound of the doTERRA singles and blends are in here. So we're going to look for basically balance, and we'll take a look at that. So I have the balance here. I know it's hard to see here, but I've got the essential oil of balance in there from doTERRA. And then if I wanted to, we will bring that up. And let's take a look at that. We're going to clear everything else up and we're going to put our balance back in. And so let's just listen to the balance. Same thing virtually in here. So Brett's noticing that his skin is pulsing from head to toe. Clarity's very relaxed and floaty. And Mary's throat chakra is doing something interesting. Okay, so there again, that's the difference between we heard Valor and doTERRA. I'm going to show you two different things here in a minute. So let's experience that for a few minutes. Okay, and if you have not had the experience of working with the Genius Biofeedback or the Bio Vibe, go to Insight Health Apps or get a hold of me. Go to Insight Health Apps and download the free trial. You can try the BioVibe. You can try all of those. I mean, they're in there. So let's just take a look at that. So one of the important things is if I wanted to, I'm going to put essential oils, and actually you might as well watch me do it because this is why and how you learn. Okay. I can Google, you can Google just as well as I can. So if I go in here, I'm going to put essential oils, and let's say I want to look at peace and calming, and we're going to do it yourself recipes. Are you seeing this? It's not rocket science. Images. I teach everyone, go to images. Oh, surprise, surprise, surprise. There we go. Do it yourself, peace and calming. Tangerine, orange, ylang-ylang, patchouli. There's your recipes. Okay. There are most of the recipes. What's the next one we want to look at? So your balance is actually called Valor originally. Okay. There is your Valor recipes, you guys. There's a Valor 1 and Valor 2. Spruce, frankincense, blue tansy. This is much better than methylene blue, by the way. Okay, so make your own at home. Don't be afraid to experiment. Okay, there are people in here, you know, we're looking at stuff that came to me. Someone asked about wine. Okay, there are things in here that you can look at that people have used for this, not only as an anti-bug repellent, but where the top different things here you'll see for Lyme. Or are we looking for something for the essential oil for depression? Okay, so there we go. Top oils, there we go, how to make them. Okay, it's not rocket science. So I want you to get into seeing how simple this is. Okay, and then we're going to go, I think, next week, unless you've got something else. What I want to look at is we're going to talk a little bit about what's called releasing negative emotions with essential oils. And that's my plan for next week, unless you've got another plan you want me to do. Basically, we're going to look on some stuff here now, too. So one of the things, and again, we're looking at some of the different ideas that we can do. And on here, we are going to go look at, and again, how many people have decided that they need to take a look at different ideas, and how many people have been stressed or have anxiety or know people that do have that. So let's take a look at those particular things. So we're going to look at, again, follow with me. I hope you guys have got your pen and paper, so taking screenshots. This may not last next week. And we're going to go into that. So we're going to talk about blue tansy and different things. Yes, like wild tansy in there. And again, it's the processing. It's not just about doing the plant, but it's also the processing of it. Okay. So Valerie's getting very relaxed. That's great. So we're going to go into here. We're going to live stream. Again, follow what I'm doing. Essential. We're going to talk about releasing negative emotions with essential oils. Okay. Let's look at images. I always teach you, go to images first. It's easier to scan than it is to read. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of books. The books I'm going to be talking about is by Dr. Carolyn Mean, but again, she's not the only one. Dr. Mean, who I trained with as well for about a month, wrote this in book. But again, it doesn't have to be, like I said, working with those essential oils from that company. You're going to find the negative emotion. You're going to apply the oil. You're going to smell it, and then you can put it on the back. And so this is where we're going to focus on, is getting rid of ancestral things and also clearing those essential oil patterns in there. So again, you can put even trigger points on the brain here, but every acupuncture point is where we're going to be experiencing things. So it's kind of like Louise Hay's and neurolinguistic programming all in one. So again, is it forgiveness? Is it stress? Okay, flexibility. Is there what's going on in the actual body? So everyone's got a version of it. You can look up, is someone stressed, worried, anxiety, that type of thing. So again, where are we finding this in the body? Okay, so there's all sorts of different things on how we feel and express things, where we store it in the body. And again, one of the quick things in here is, again, there's an oil called release, but do you need to release something? Did someone make you angry? You know, we have days where we just feel like pissed off. Okay, this is a great way, especially peace and calming, to bring you back. So I don't care if you put it on the head, on the ears, do your tapping, put it here. I like to go prayer position. I like to just comb my entire head. And then you can feel that experience that we're talking about. So again, there are oils for different things, feeling sadness, anger, joy. And those are the ones that we want to get into, is clear those things for the negative emotions. Again, let's now go to the essential oil release here. On here, again, my favorite thing, it's not rocket science, is to take a look and listen to us. All of us have basically taught over the years on how to do it. So what are we going to talk about? So what is the opposite of being anger? What is that angry and being, what's that angriness doing to people? I don't know if that's a word today, but I think I just made it. Anyway, the opposite of anger is laughter. So would we rather be upset or laughing our way through this monstrosity that we're going through? This, whatever it is. So the emotions of anger are said to be, again, introduced Chinese medicine, in Russian, and in many things, Ayurvedic, stored in the liver. So it's kind of like doing a liver cleanse. So doing these essential oils can be applied to those points, smell it, and then just saying, I feel like laughing. Laughter is my emotion. I feel like laughing. Whatever it is, and I always prefer to do it in your original self when I want to do releasing ancestral patterns or things along that line. So again, as I said, you look up the idea, you're releasing negative emotions with those patterns. Okay, there are lots of things there. As I said, it's not common. We know that this trauma is released in the limbic system in the brain. So again, look up a couple different things. Everyone's got their take. Everyone's got a version of it, but there is lots of stuff for you to look at here. Okay, and where you're feeling stuck. Okay, lots of things are in there. So just a few of the things I thought we could do. So what did we hear here before we sign off today? Brent asks, is blue tansy, again, I'll go through that again, like regular tansy wild? Yes, it can be. And it's a very intricate procedure to actually do distillation for that one as well. Anyway, will I post this on the channel? Ask Indigo Dragon Prosperity. Yes, and we'll see if it lasts. The last one lasted, 4 hours before they took it down? They'll probably give me a strike for this one too. Anyway, my skin on my face really warmed up. And again, that's what we want to experience, right? We want to experience all those things. So like I said, I've been using different essential oils like castor oil and putting pearl powder in it and putting lavender or frankincense or blue things. I'm just giving myself an entire facial thing almost every week. So there are lots of things you can do. You can do the essential oils and using the tuning forks, using one of the rollers. I've got a rose wool like roller and stuff like that, and geishas and stuff like that. So I wanted to give you some ideas. And next week we're going to, if you haven't gotten your oils, this gives you a chance. We've got a week to go get some of those oils. Get a couple that you want to play with. I gave you some ideas. Get them ready, and we're going to start actually doing interactive and integrative stuff next week. So you're going to be actually doing it while I will be doing it and putting them on you. Okay. And we're going to go through those different things. So get a couple of the oils that you would like to either make them. That gives you more than a week. Everyone should have oils in their thing within the week. And we'll see you next Friday. I want to thank you guys for joining me. If this has been exciting for you and you've learned something, put a heart. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put a heart into the chat room. So Clarity said it's nice. Okay, so let's see what we do. So Topaz and Carolee says, I'm excited for next week. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do, again, I want you, and if you guys haven't done, I'm going to do one more thing, is to look at the Insight Health apps. Those of us, we've got a meeting with Ryan on Monday at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to show you here briefly where you can go look and give yourself energetic essential oils. Does that not sound like fun? Right? So let's look at the energetic essential oils that you can give yourself through the Genius. Oh, we got hearts I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got purple hearts. I got red hearts. Okay, so that's great. I'm glad you guys are learning something in here. Okay, so let's go to the biofeedback. So those people, everyone says, I can't believe I sent someone to my site and they go, I can't find where to download it. I said, there's like downloads everywhere. Google version, Apple version. Go down, you will find everything. So what I want to do is if you're on here, you can download where it says, see where it says free Genius download, but let's skip down to where it says download links, you guys. Okay, so if you want to go for webinars, you can sign up here. If you want to learn about some of our access in biofeedback, you can. I want you to see where it says, and you have a free Genius manual you don't have to pay for. It's actually under training. But in here, see what it says, Apple, Google, Apple, Google. There's your energetic e-medicine book for free, by the way. In here, if you want to scoot down and you want to try the Bio Vibe, again, about a week, 5 days, Apple, Google, Google, Apple. Download the app. Okay, affirmations. If you need some motivation, don't be kicking someone's butt. There's the Royal Rife, Apple, Google version. Okay, and again, you can do it just by sound. You don't have to hook up with headphones. I like to do headphones. If you just want to try this over your water, you can do the fractals and the imaging and applying the solfeggio tones to your water or whatever food or water you want. See if you can taste the difference before and after. I can. Okay, if you think you're in a relationship and need to check them, better than a horoscope or human design, I think. Anyway, there's an essential oil app you can play with as well. And for those ones, there's the Odyssey. And in this Odyssey, we just have a section. So it could be for headaches or mold or whatever you want. But as you can see, there is, give yourself the essential oils. Okay, so we have learned something. I want you to try this. If you have questions, you give me a call. And if you're in the chat room and you've never had your 15-minute free demo, get a hold of me because I can actually do these essential oils for you. And we could even infuse some water from a distance. So you would need a glass of water and some headphones or at least earbuds. So there we go. And we can do that in less than 10 minutes for you. So have a great week. Are you guys all ready? Going to be on to the next week. And oh my gosh, we're getting into August. You can imagine that already. So we're going to end the stream and we will see you later. Take care. Ciao for now.